Welcome back to Irons United for a very special gift of the gab. You will recognise a couple of our faces. Actually, you will recognise all of our faces, and one in particular. Three-time Olympic medalist.
Recognise AC, baby! Alfie, baby!
Three-time Olympic medalist, World, European and Commonwealth champion, currently on our TVs, a certain Mr. Kriss Akabusi. Kriss, thank you for taking the time coming on our channel today. How are you, Kriss? How you doing?
Life is good. I'm feeling good about life. It's great to be here on the show with you guys. It's always good to meet hardcore West Ham fans that are doing their thing. And like you said earlier on when we were sort of like warming up, there's a plethora of sites now where you've got real fans who are dedicated to West Ham, who are, talking and doing the media for real fans. And so it's great to be part and parcel of the network. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
Honestly, Kriss, it's a total...
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, total pleasure. We've just got a round of questions. This is the gift of the gab. Kriss, we gave you a brief explanation. And for any of you fans that are watching when this video goes out, make sure you get the comments in below, hit the subscribe button, follow, hit the thumbs up, all that malarkey. Anyway, I'm going to throw you straight over to Alf, Kriss, for the first question.
All right, Alf, fire away, fella.
Right, I want to know, because I get asked this all the time, right, and say, why on earth, whatever possessed you to support West Ham?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good one. It's a great question. I mean, I started following West Ham in 1969. Prior to that, I was a glory hunter. I was following Liverpool FC. I was 8, 9, 10. Liverpool winning everything back then. And then I went on holiday in Clacton, and I met a guy there called Terry Fagg. I've met Terry since. But I met him in 69 at Clacton. He had a caravan, went to his caravan, and it was just wall-to-wall claret and blue. And inside there, he had some of the present team there. There was a guy called Clyde Best. He played number for West Ham. Big old Clyde Best.
Yeah, brilliant.
And at the time, there was no black players playing in the first division. And Clyde Best, I saw him, was with Terry, hang out with Terry. He was a ladies' man back then, so he's with all the girls, and I was just talking about West Ham with him, and that was it. I was hooked to West Ham. I mean, I should be Dirty Spurs, because at the time I was living in North London. I was living in Enfield, Edmonton, and everyone there was either Spurs or Arsenal fans. Right. But I went across the River Lee and started following West Ham from '69.
Wow, what a player you've mentioned there, Kriss. I mean, it's one of my dad's all-time favourites. He's an East End of London lad, Clyde Best. I mean, and I was fortunate enough to meet him last year. I'd done a book signing, went across, got my dad a book signed from him. What a lovely man.
Yeah, I mean, what was special about Clyde Best for me is that he was playing at a time when not a lot of black players played in the league, and the idea was black people had all the skills, but they didn't have the tenacity, or when it was cold they went missing, didn't have the endurance, etc. And he used to take a lot of abuse from the services, but he just got his head down and kept on going. And on the back of him, you look at the Premier League now, and every team's got a handful of black players now, and of course we see it's nonsense. Black players are good as white players, and we can sort of give as good as we get.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly why I kind of hooked on to Clyde Best as well, because at the time, although he wasn't the first black player in English, football, especially or even for West Ham, I think at the time he was the most successful black player, and as you say, he was the one who sort of knuckled down. And it's kind of night and day in terms of how we treat people these days and how they were treated back then. But it's just testament to the guy that he just got on with him, and he, for me, he also earned the respect of loads of other players at that time as well. I mean, he's well quoted by lots of other well-known players at the time, like George Best as well was a big fan as well. So
well, then also like a lot of black players that came in after him, So you are right, he wasn't the first. A guy called John Charles in '65, for example, he was playing. But people like Cyril Regis, God rest his soul, Cyril Regis. Lloyd Cunningham, Viv Anderson, all of these kids grew up watching Clyde Best take the knocks on the pitch, and then they come out, and by the time they started coming out, they were the new generation. And then, of course, then people like myself thought, okay, you can play football. I mean, I couldn't play football. About a track. But, I could have dared to dream of playing for West Ham, which would have been unfathomable in the 60s.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, he had a massive impact for West Ham, as we know. Clyde Best did. Kriss, I suppose in relation to some of the issues in the modern game just now, with regards to some of the players that seem to be getting a hard time, in particular Raheem Sterling. What's your kind of take on the kind of current circumstances in the Premier League? And
yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think you can in any field you like when you're a pioneer. I mean, Raheem Sterling, phenomenal player. He's been great as a young kid, and he's taken his unfair share of knocks in the media. That's the way the media goes. Every now and again, they'll pick on somebody, yeah. and you are the sort of the scapegoat. You are the guy that they all go to. It's not right. It's not clever, but it is what it is. And it's not what it was. You know, we've just mentioned it's not what it was back in the 60s and the 70s. And Raheem Sterling is a very well-paid young man, and the majority of people recognise his phenomenal talent. It's not clever. It's not nice, and I suspect because it's been highlighted, it will ease off for him. I don't think he gets any sort of overt, direct racism, as it were. But you know, it's like, you know, I mean, I know the big one is he buys a house for his mum, and everyone says, Premiership player throwing his money away. A white guy buys his house for his mum and it's doing the right thing, looking up, knowing, remember where he comes from. You know, these anomalies are going to happen. But in general, I think most Premiership players will recognise, you know, we've come a long way away. I mean, I dare say, I mean, even like that, for some of the stuff, okay, I know that I've got a profile and I don't know what it's like to be a 16-year-old today on the terraces. But when I was on the terraces, mate, it was just incredible. It was just incredible. I just remember a game when West Ham were playing a cup match at Watford, and I don't know if we were losing or whatever, but actually West Ham fans were going mad. They were chucking all things onto the pitch, and then there's one person said, I can't even say the word now, but chucking something like that. I can't even say it. And I turned around and they're all looking at me. You know, honestly, the sort of stuff that you used to get you wouldn't get it now. You wouldn't get
it now at all.
So whether you're a fan or whether you're a player, you know, it's a complete different world. And you know, Raheem Sterling, he's the top of his game, and he's not getting treated as well as other players, but he's gotten treated a hell of a lot better than his predecessors 10, 20 years ago. Yeah.
Well, you bring us on to maybe your first ever West Ham game. What's your memory of your first ever West Ham game, Kriss?
First West Ham game. Oh, mate, you know, because funny enough, I actually remember my first game was Tottenham Ipswich. I got taken by, because I used to live in the children's zone. And some of the people that used to call them uncles, and they were Tottenham fans. I remember them taking me to Tottenham Ipswich. I do remember a big game at West Ham. So what used to happen was, West Ham, we had proper terraces and proper turnstiles back then. Yeah. And if you hung around the North Bank, all the people paid to get in, and after 20 minutes, the people who checked the turnstile, they should just leave. And you could just walk in through the turnstile. So I remember them, you know, walking in the turnstiles, and so I don't know what the capacity was. Let's say 28,000 then, but 28,000 would be 38,000 because people would be bunking in left, right, and centre, right? And I remember West Ham were playing Man United. Georgie Best was playing for Man United, and they must have beat us 4-1 that day. Georgie Best was on absolute fire. And I remember but what I remember is when we scored, because I'd bunked in, I was at the back. But when we scored, I ended up being chucked down the bottom. And this was, when everything moved, you all moved. And, you know, if you were with people, you start off with people and then you end up with another person. Right, okay, where's the people I came in with? So that was my very first game that I remember at West Ham. It was a Man U game, and we got absolutely hammered. But it was just great to be at Upton Park. It was great to be in the bowling. It was great to be, you know, with Bobby Moore. Billy Bonds was my favourite player then. 6'2", eyes are blue. Billy Bonds is after you. We used to sing that all the time. And, oh, mate, it was a fantastic to all of a sudden be inside the ground. You know, like all the kids today, you know, it's wall-to-wall football now, isn't it? But back then, it was spot the ball. It was match of the day. It was, you know, and I know you'd only watch West Ham on telly. Yeah. So all of a sudden, to be in the ground, it must have been like 71 or 72 to be in the ground. It was just fantastic, mate. It was unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. What was your of all the years you supported West Ham? What is your most memorable game? Would you say? I know it's a really hard question. I know, but
yeah. Well, I mean, of course. I mean, it's just like the FA Cup finals. You know, 1975, Alan Taylor booking in 1980. Oh. Yeah. You know, I mean, these are phenomenal times for West Ham, because even back then you didn't really expect too much. I mean, we obviously we had Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst, Martin Peters, Jimmy Greaves. We had a couple of phenomenal players, but West Ham, we've always been a team that's sort of like in the lower half. You know, of course, everyone talks about the boys of '86. You know, playing third, but basically, as a West Ham fan, you're always a middle table team. Yeah. So you know, to watch us in '75 win the FA Cup against Fulham, Alan Taylor, boom, boom, get in little Taylor. You know, and it's amazing because I started going again properly in about 2001, 2002, and Alan Taylor was in the lounges, and it was just like, he was just like, you know, just working the tables, and he recognised me, and it was just like,
and you're just in shock, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know, little Alan Taylor, because I can remember it so vividly, because again back then. We don't do the FA Cup now like we did back then. It was wall to wall all day, and I remember the build and all of that sort of stuff. And then seeing Alan Taylor and seeing coming onto Wembley with his suit and all the boys, and him getting his call up, he's going to play in the final, and then him scoring the goal, and it was just amazing. And then all of a sudden, little Alan Taylor, because he is little, because I'm bigger than Alan Taylor, you know, being in front of me was just amazing, and recognising me. So, yeah, it's got to be the FA Cup games, because we don't win that much. And I know people want us to sort of have a push for Europe and see if we can get into the top 6 eventually. But for me, I would much rather us win the Cup. Yeah. I mean, did you go to, I know, sorry, given the gab, I'm spatting off again. Sorry, fellas. But did you go to 2006? Did you go to the FA Cup down at Cardiff?
Liverpool game, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Awful. To be within that much.
And I thought we were going to do it. I turned around to him. I said, "Mate, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Can you believe it?" I couldn't believe it.
My actual thought of that game was I was at home watching it, and there was just one moment towards the end when you know, Marlon, you know,
he was so injured, wasn't he? He was so injured.
He could have done it. It's just like he'd broken his leg or standing on the other one or whatever. And I can't, you know, it's all a bit fuzzy at the time because I was a bit like you. I was like you, go like this. No, yeah, no, oh, and that was it.
Well, that one. So that one. I mean, if I was Marlon Harewood, I'd have nightmares for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, towards the end of the game, the second half, people were cramping. Gerrard was cramping.
Yeah.
He was cramping. Thank God we scored that worldie, right? But then this is in the second half, in extra time. Marlon Harewood, he had cramped. He'd run his socks off, right? Yeah. But you would have just thought at that moment some superhuman effort would have override with the pain because the ball was just there. It was game.
Oh, Chris, I don't know. You're opening up so many old wounds here. I don't know if I can take this anymore.
That moment for me is one of those moments when I think, oh my God, you know, you could have stabbed me right there, and that's it. I'll be done. I mean, I can't believe it.
On that, Chris. I mean, my dad's 73. He probably won't like me saying it. But he's a successful West Ham fan, as you guys are. He's seen us win some cups. Unfortunately for me, I was born just after the 1980 FA Cup final, so I've not been as successful. I've seen us win an Intertoto Cup. I've seen us get promoted from the Championship. So as a kind of younger West Ham fan, you know, we've not been so lucky to see these cup wins, and it's desperation. And I am completely advocating what you've just said there. I'd willing give up Europe, 100% to go and win an FA Cup, to have that feeling, to have that memory stored up there, to be able to talk about it to the rest of my life, to my kids, to my family, and just have that. And you talk about it, I feel that passion. I just wish I was there, and it's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating to be that close.
Did you go to the playoffs when we beat Blackpool with Vastay final?
Absolutely, unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, that feeling, if you can just remember that feeling, ramp it up by another 100%.
Yeah,
that's like when you win the FA Cup.
Yeah,
it's absolutely when you think of what it's taken to get there, and you are there, especially with Arsenal when we were clearly the underdogs.
Yeah.
Arsenal, we were clearly the underdogs. So that one was just. But
in that year in particular, Chris, I was at City away when Dean Ashton, when we scored, I think it was 2-1 or 2-0. I was there. I mean, West Ham just performed. I mean, if City didn't have the players they've got now, but still to travel away to City in their new stadium with the new owners and perform like we did during that season, I mean, that's all we ask for as West Ham fans, as you know, Chris and Alf as well.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah, I tell you, there you're right. You see, what we had there that season, though, because Dean Ashton was injured a lot, and you'd see more than it'll be limping. But Dean Ashton, if you gave him 3 chances, he's going to score 2.
Yeah.
Maybe Tevez. But outside of that, we've not had a striker like Dean Ashton.
No.
Maybe. I'll tell you what. The guy who came, Demba Ba was another lethal striker.
It was, long enough. Yeah.
He was a lethal striker. But to be successful, you've got to have a striker. Feed him 3, he scores 1. Yeah. And Dean Ashton was that. And on that day, Dean Ashton was a monster.
Yeah.
He was an absolute monster. His left peg was beautiful. And I was at that match. And like you said, it was phenomenal what it took. And, City were better than us, although they weren't the City they were of today. But to go up there in their new stadium, Dean Ashton to be on form, I think he got 4 chances. Boom, he smashed it in with his left leg. Bam, and we were going to win. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was just brilliant, mate.
Yeah,
do you know what? For me, I'm glad you mentioned Dean Ashton, because Dean Ashton, for me, and I'm probably going to be a bit controversial in terms of West Ham fandom, but for me, Dean Ashton is probably the best striker for West Ham that never was.
Yeah.
I'll say that because of his injuries, his career was cut short too early, all that kind of stuff. But pound for pound, I think he would have been, if he was fit all the time and he had a longer career, I think he would have been our best striker.
Yeah.
Memory, put it that way.
No, I've got no doubt because, because he played for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Injured. You could see, when they come out before the game, you could see him hobbling. And you could see him taking about 20 minutes to get into the game.
Yeah.
Because he was hobbling. He was always, I don't know whether it was his calf or what it was, but he wasn't 100% fit. I don't.
Was it not to do with that? Was it not to do with his call up to England as well? He had a call up to England, and it was a tackle from Sean Wright Phillips, I think it was.
That's absolutely smart.
He was right on the verge of actually going great places with England. He was right. I had a lot of time watching him. I say, great player, and also I love the way he commentates and the way he kind of analyses games now as well. For Sky or whoever he works for. So I've got a lot of time for Dean Ashton. Actually,
he was a clever player, but very clever. He was really aware of what was going on, and he wasn't the quickest player. But it wasn't Teddy Sheringham. But like Teddy Sheringham, he always turned up at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
His timing was perfect. So when the ball came across, he just met it perfectly. Yeah, he's some great goals for us. And I've got no doubt, if he had that extra percentage fitness and 2 or 3 more years, he would have been one of our top goal scorers. I mean, I love Ashton,
Yeah,
absolutely. Alf, I think you've got the next question, haven't you?
Oh, well, I think so. I'm not
Have you lost?
Or not. I'll tell you what, okay. Out of all, the whole career supporting West Ham, who's your favourite player then? Your favourite ever player?
It's got to be between Bonds and Dixie. I'm going to go with Billy Bonds, purely because I was a real kid in short trousers with Billy Bonds, and he was a giant man to me, a giant man. But what I liked about Billy Bonds, you know, like Scotty Parker and Noble, he did the simple things. Billy Bonds didn't try to be anything special. He didn't, but he was a destroyer, and he used to play with his socks down by his ankles.
Yeah,
used to, not clever, but he used to have no shin pads.
Yeah,
his shorts were always dirty.
Yeah,
and he bossed the midfield, and he won the ball and passed the players. He was a typical water carrier. He won the ball, passed the booking.
Yeah.
He passed it to Devonshire.
Yeah.
He passed it to players that could play. But he was a boy who you wanted. You couldn't mess around with his team. If you cropped Devonshire or Booking, Bonds, bam!
Yeah.
I mean, he used to do things he couldn't do.
He put his body in line, didn't he? Yeah.
He put his body in his line. Yeah, he was apt, and so I mean, he was a stevedore. He was archetypical of the East End stevedore. He was, he looked like a docker. I know he actually came from Millwall. He came from the south, but he played for us. He looked like a docker. He played like a docker, and he made things tick. You knew that he was the gaffer. He was the governor. He was the boss on that pitch, and so. I like him because he did his job. He knew what his job was. He was there to destroy. He was there to set up. He was there to protect. He was there to provide. He was there to nurture. Billy Bonds, 6'2", eyes are blue. Billy Bonds is after you.
Yeah.
And he really was what he was. The man on the pitch. He was the governor.
And for you then, the second there you mentioned was Julian Dix. I mean, I didn't maybe expect you to say that, but I mean, for me, he was mine. He was me growing up. He's the guy I watched. He emulated everything you said there. No holes barred, body on the line. He was always came off the park muddy, even if the pitch was as beautiful as anything. He dug in about 4 inches deeper to make a tackle to get that ball off the opposition player.
Well, absolutely. Well, and with Dixie, you would see all their creative players go from the right wing over to the left wing. They didn't have anything to do with Dixie. Because he would kick them into the chicken run, mate.
Yeah, he would.
Boom.
He would.
Ball, body, shot, boom. And he'd have a look at you. He'd have a look at you and then get back up and move on. No, I loved him. But, I mean, with Dix, what I loved about Dix, he was a hard player, aggressive player, no nonsense player. But I used to love his penalties. I used to love Dix's penalties.
I'm sure there was a game. Was there not a game against Manchester United? He's done a few, but in particular, I'm sure it was when Sky Sports got a hold of this new equipment that could measure the speed of the ball. And Peter Schmeichel didn't get his hand onto the ball, but they said if he had, there was the possibility with the way that he hit that ball, it could have potentially ripped his fingers or broke his fingers at the time. But he used to smash those balls. But he had that ability from outside the box. He used to smash them from outside the box as well, didn't he?
Yeah. And I tell you what, he was actually a skillful player. He was a skillful player as well. I remember, when was this now? I remember going to try. I was a young athlete myself now. I was like 83, 84. I was a young athlete, and I went to West Ham to train with West Ham. And there's a guy called, do you remember? There's a guy called Slater, Robbie Slater. Yeah. And I had to race with Robbie Slater and then play football when Dixie was on my side. And Dixie was nutmegging all the players out there. He had skills, mate. He had tackers. Yeah. He was nutmegging players and all sorts. And Dixie played his testicles a lot. So when he's playing, he would hold his testicles and then do a little skill. I just used to love watching him. I remember watching him play. He was just a fantastic player. So he's got skills. He's hard, and with those penalties, how he used to hit the back of that net, the extension, rattle back out again. Yeah. I used to love him.
Unbelievable.
It's interesting you say, you got those two players there, and I think it's a generational thing, isn't it? If you speak to like a lot of fans who are older than us, they'd say like, okay, so it's the Holy Trinity. It's or it's going to be from the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. You go from our sort of generation. I'm looking at the likes of Bonds, Brooking, Devonshire as kind of always going to be in my top 10 all time. Yeah. Then I kind of go on a next generation and I say, well, definitely Dix, definitely Di Canio, You know, it's going to be in. And I sometimes do this. I'm like a little 10-year-old sometimes. I do my top 10 West Ham players of all time. But on a hand on heart, that list changes all the time. It depends on how I feel on a particular day.
And it's funny there, Alf, you mentioned there about like generations as well. I mean, I'm 35, but my dad was obviously, he's older than me, seen it all, spoke to me about it. Unfortunately enough, when I was young enough, we used to have a channel called Sky Sports Gold that used to rerun a lot of the old games, and I used to sit with my dad, and because I used to play football, I used to talk through players with me. I used to play in defence, so that's why I took to Julian Dix. But in particular, we used to go through the eras of all the old eras of what we've mentioned there: Moore, Brooking, Bonds, Dix, and then we're going into the era for me personally, just when I was really young enough, Trevor Morley, Ian Bishop, who we've had on the show as well, George Paris, Tony Gale, Alvin Martin. Like,
Alvin Martin's a great player.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Great player. That boy was a great player. Because again, a centre back who could play with the ball, he could actually run with the ball. Skillful player, very underrated centre back, Alvin Martin. And a brave player as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you know, he's had his head kicked in a few. I mean, what I mean is, you know, put his head and had it taken off of a boot and still kept on going.
Yeah.
Brave player. He's a boy you'd want on your side. You know, I mean, gosh, we've had some great players, but Alvin Martin will be one of my centre backs.
Yeah.
Player.
Right. 100%. Well,
players I always liked are always, you know, they are the likes of the Dixie and the Bonds, and I'm just wondering now. This is up to you, Chris. Really, do you think that our current side now, or certainly for the last few years, whether we're missing those kind of players? Do we have anybody like that now? And do we? Okay, let me kind of rephrase it. Do you think we need those kind of players in the modern game?
Yeah. So, I mean, the game has changed a lot, you know, and sometimes for the better. You know, we've got a lot of foreign players in there, in our team and in the league, and it's raised the standard of technical football. But what has changed, I think, probably a bit controversial, is you don't have as many players that really know what a West Ham sort of player is like, what a West Ham 100% bleeding for the shirt is like. You know, West Ham's a working class side. You know, it's a working class side, and we don't win much, but we're blood and guts. And generally, in the West Ham teams that I grew up in, we had 2 or 3 technical players. You know, so you'd have your Brooklyn, your Devonshire, you'd have your you mentioned your Bish, whatever, and then you'd have guys who would bleed for the shirt, who would lead everything on the pitch, and I don't think we have as many of those. And the problem is that, you know, okay, like you're seeing the game when we lost against Wimbledon. Now Wimbledon is nowhere near our league. There's not one player there to get anywhere near our league. But Wimbledon had players that we had in the 60s and 70s. Players that are playing for Wimbledon. Many of them are local lads. They've got their mum and their dad in the ground. It still means something to them. They're going to go in a pub and see some of their fans, and blood for it, and they won the battle. And you can see today, players with less skill, if they want to win the battle, generally at times can also win the war. And so that's what we miss. You know, I don't want to miss the play, because I'm not saying that players for West Ham now don't try. They do try and they do want to win, but there's an extra 10% that you can't legislate for. And you know, like Marlon, you know, if Marlon Harewood had been Billy Bonds, he scores an FA Cup final. And because Billy Bonds is going to rip his hamstring getting to that ball. He's going to get there and they're going to stretch him off and we're going to win. Because you can't legislate for it. It's just something inside where it just matters that extra bit, where you go the extra yard, where you get knocked out for it. And I don't want to be rude. I don't want to, because, you know, I'm sure, you know, Noble, for example, he embodies that spirit.
Yeah.
Because that's gone on for a very long time, and he's not the most technically gifted. Although he can do the long range passes, he can do it all. But but you can see that he keeps on going because he wants to keep on going.
Yeah.
You haven't got many more in the side outside of him that are doing that, and you need a lot. You need a lot more.
Yeah.
You need a lot more. You need you need 3 or 4, 5 or 6 who are going to die in the shirt.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the ones who do this and kiss the badge and do. Now, I'm not talking about that stuff.
No.
I mean, those die for it.
Yeah.
Those guys who actually, that's it. I'm saying
who have got the wounds to prove that they want to be at that club. The battle wounds on their heads. Yeah.
Look, Chris, I do like a weekly show, and do you know what? Any fan in the land who supports your team, if you see your players who you're not putting in that extra 10%, blood and guts, they're going to be exactly like us. They're going to be, hacked off. That the players just aren't showing it, and I totally agree with you. I think they are showing it. I think they are committed, all our players. But I think there's something that it's not being portrayed over to the fans, that we're not seeing that extra blood and guts, from a lot of the players. And I think every strong side that has ever been has always had a really strong spine. It's like a T formation. You're strong at the back, and you're strong right through the centre of the park. And we just don't have it. We just don't have that strength. So that's why we can raise our game against, let's say, a top 6 side, and we can beat an Arsenal, and we can play great football, because guess what? They're playing great football as well, and we can kind of match it. But all of a sudden, we come up against, I don't know, a Bournemouth or a Burnley or a Wimbledon, and we get taken to the cleaners because we just don't know how to battle.
All of them. So you're bob on. So the top 6, if they want to play football, we can play football, and we've got a good football inside. We've got guys who've got skills. But you are bob on. I mean, how many games? Brighton, Watford, Burnley.
Yeah.
All the scraps we're losing. All the scraps. It's the teams that come up there who are going to really scrap, going to fight for you for it. And we're not technically good enough to break down a team that says parking 2 bastards in the Sherman tank, come down and break us down. Yeah. And then after an hour, with trying to do the technical stuff, when they're still fighting, because if you don't start fighting, you can't keep fighting. Yeah. You can't all of a sudden say, okay, it's now a scrap. You've got to be right on it right from the get-go. And we're not. Wimbledon showed me everything. Yeah. If Wimbledon, they absolutely battered us. They're nowhere near. And I tell you what, because if we'd beaten Wimbledon, we would definitely lost to Millwall.
Yeah.
Because those boys, I saw them was Everton. Yeah. They beat up Everton bad. Because Everton are like us. Us and Everton, the same sort of size, same sort of, we are changing and we're evolving. We've got some great players.
Yeah.
But we might be losing. We might in that transition of great players. We might be losing the East End scrap or the Stanley Park scrap.
Yeah.
You got to scrap first. If the teams that are below you, you got to scrap first. You got to scrap first.
Yeah.
Wimbledon scrapped and we had no answer.
Chris, what impact do you think moving from Upton Park to the London Stadium? And second question to that is, what's your thoughts on the London Stadium?
Right, okay. Look, West Ham have had 3 or 4 different homes, and we don't play at White Park or whatever it was called where we first played. So progress is progress. If we were winning, we wouldn't have a problem leaving Upton Park. We're not winning, so we've got a problem leaving Upton Park. Look, for me, the bowling means a lot. I told you about me bunking in the North Bank. I went down there in '69. It means that if we were still there, I'd be happy. But I tell you what, the toilets are a lot better in the Olympic Stadium. They're a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
And if the project of the Olympic Stadium is the right idea, if football is going all entertainment. Now, I've got my problems with the EPL, the English Premier League, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But and I think the new stadium is part and parcel of that same problem. It's all style, no substance. I've got great seats. I'm in front of the concourse. I'm right over the players' dugout. I can hear Manuel shouting at the players. I can hear when the new players are coming on. I can see the numbers on the shirt. I can see their studs. I've got great seats. So, I'm having a great match day experience watching the game. Still got the ambience, right? But when I was in the Boleyn, when you went into we was at the I forgot my little lounge, but it was a small little lounge, and it was like a pub. I paid a lot of money for my tickets, right? For my season tickets, but it was like a small little pub, not much bigger than this room. All in there, and it's like, I don't know, 100 people, and the same 100 people were in there, and it was a club within a club, and you got to know everybody. Now the bowling, I think it might even be called the bowling. Now the bowling bar is just like a massive hall. I might as well be standing on the platform at King's Cross. Yeah, massive hall, no ambience. So I think they've lost. They need to put in a few little corners.
Yeah, break it up a bit. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you feel like, oh, these are the guys I drink with.
Yeah.
You need to know who you drink with. So that's one easy thing. But also things like what really bugged me about the English Premier League is that I'm a busy guy. I fly out the country and I've targeted Saturday 24th. It's in my diary. I'm flying back for that game.
Yeah,
you have nailed that on the head.
I know what you're going to say. Go on.
It gets moved to the Monday. I'm flying out again. I've lost my seats.
Yeah.
And it just bugs me. You can't plan anything. Yeah. So, I've got 19 ticket games. I've got 2 tickets, and I only get to see 10 games, 12 games, because you keep moving them around.
Yeah.
3 o'clock to 5:30, Saturday to Monday, Friday evening. I mean, it's like, give me a break. I just want to watch football, mate.
And Chris, you've nailed on the head for me personally. I live in Scotland. I'm a season ticket holder for West Ham. So my biggest issue is I've got to plan in advance unless I want to spend crazy amounts of money travelling to the game. And the prime example of that was the FA Cup game against Wimbledon. Now, we did get beat, but if we drew that game and the replay was going to happen, the Liverpool game was going to get moved again with a week's notice. So I had to wait and find out. And then it just didn't go according to plan, and I'm just missing games left, right and centre because I can't plan in advance. Yeah. So I'm sitting there with a season ticket, and now they're looking at the stadium and they're coming out and announcing that the stadium has got this amount of people sitting in it, but in actual fact we all can't go to the games because they keep changing it because of TV.
Well, 100%. So you asked a question about the move. The move, the English Premier League, it's not for the fans. I don't want to be a whinger, but what you see is football is no longer for the fee-paying, go through the turnstile fans.
Yeah.
It's now for the TV populace. And I'm not complaining. Well, I am complaining, I guess. but but it's not for the guys that want to turn up every day.
Yeah.
Because they don't care.
Yeah.
Within a week, they can move it from one night to another. That's not good enough. Now, I don't know what the answer is, because if it wasn't for Sky and BT, then you wouldn't have all the players, foreign players you got in playing for the club now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is, but what I do know is going from the bowling to the Olympic Stadium is exactly correlated to changing it around. It's not about the fans. It's not, the bowling was about the fans and tradition. This is much more about where we are now. It's about corporate. It's about linking up with Westfield. It's about a full day out, meals around. Do you get me? It's a whole. Yeah. It's called a gestalt. There's a whole gestalt being created around the football experience. It's not what it once was. It's not me and my little boy going on a Saturday afternoon watching 15 players that we know.
Yeah.
And we've grown up with.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the news that came out today, Chris, about the London Stadium plans for moving some of the seats. So on the official website today, they've been putting plans to certain fans talking about bringing the Sir Trevor Brooking lower and the Bobby Moore lower stand closer to the park, aligning it with the edges of the east and west stand. And they're saying in some areas, fans will be brought more than 4 metres closer to the park. And they've put an image out just to show you what that would look like. And I mean, it does look quite good, but my biggest issue is it's the west and east stand, which is the distance is the biggest issue.
That's it.
Personally.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, exactly right. So behind me, there's a concourse. And if you are behind the concourse, well, you might as well watch. You might as well not be there.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, the concourse is probably don't want to tell porkies, but it must be like 20, 25 meters of concourse.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a completely different experience there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't. I mean, I'd be interested in what they think. People who live back there. I wouldn't want to be back there.
Yeah.
Where I am is perfect. I'm not complaining. I've got great views. I've got great match day experience. It's just the lounge is absolutely rubbish. It's absolutely rubbish. And actually, after time now, I don't even bother going in the lounge. I just come straight through and go out and sit down and get ready for the game because it's no soul there.
Yeah, and that's what you want. And I get your point about breaking it up, but hopefully.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with somebody, I think last season, about lots of different things that we're sort of talking about now. And one of the things I was saying, about moving the games. I think I missed out on about 8 games last season because I just couldn't get to the game because of fixtures. And also the whole soul of the stadium and everything. But I was saying at the time, actually, we are now a generation away from making the London Stadium our new home. It's going to take a generation now for all the West Ham hangouts around the stadium, the pre-match stuff, to really sort of build up. Yeah, I know we've got a couple of pubs now, and we've got the supporters bar that started up outside. But it's going to take a while, a few years, for it to have that kind of community feel around it, to be like a West Ham community. It's going to take time. We should have redeveloped, Upton Park and the Bowling Ground. That should have been redeveloped. But it's almost like, well, we can't keep on harping on about that now. You're absolutely right when you said if we were winning, people wouldn't be moaning so much. Yeah. But the fact is, we have moved. It was the wrong decision. It's ripped the soul out of the club, and it's going to take a generation for that to be repaired, I think.
And just on what Alf said there, Chris, as well, is, and we know it's people are trying to find their own matchday experience and create their own matchday experience, but Alf just touched on it there. The Supporters Club is a fantastic place. I don't know if you've ever been, Chris, but what we tend to do is we've got a lovely tie-up with the guys that run the Supporters Club. We go down, we do a bit of filming from their premises at the Stour Place.
It's West Ham employee.
No, that's the event. That's the events he runs. We go down to Stour Place, which is right beside the stadium, and the official supporters club is ran from there. So they've invited. It's that old school feeling, old school West Ham fans. It's a great place to go and have a drink. You feel really comfortable. You get a bit of food. There's that closure that you're talking about. There's that ambience, that atmosphere. The reason why we all go is we get what we want from that day, and then it takes us into the stadium, gives us that atmosphere. So in future, Chris, we'll invite you down, get you in, and you'll love it down there. And for any of you fans watching, make sure you do follow them on the social media sites. But that's at Stour Place, just as right beside the Olympic Stadium. Lovely venue.
You'll have to buy your own beers though, all right? We're not paying for your drinks, Chris. You know what I mean?
Fair play, yeah.
Alf, I think you're on to the next question.
Right, okay. So I know, you're a big, obviously, great career as an athlete, TV personality, and everything. And you do a lot of motivational speaking, right? So my question is, a bit like Darren Campbell, who did a lot of work with Man United, have you ever worked with a club, or has the club ever approached you to do some work with them, either in terms of like physical training or motivational speaking for the squad? Because sometimes I reckon they need it.
Yeah, no. So the answer is no. But I do remember once she's a big woman now, but she was 15 at the time. She's 31 now. She's 15 at the time. My daughter used to come to the games at Upton Park. Alan Pardew was the manager, and we were in the lounge, and then my daughter said, "Oh, she'd love to meet the players." So they spoke to the boss, Alan Pardew. He said, "Yeah, next time down, bring him down." Who were we playing? I don't know. Forgot who we were playing. In fact, I think we were playing Millwall. Anyway, the team was. I'm trying to think. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so I come down with my daughter. The players had warmed up and they'd come back in. And Alan Pardew opened the door. I said, "Oh, hello, mate. Yeah. My daughter said, hello, people, got a few autographs." And then Alan Pardew looked at me like that. He goes, "Is that it?" It was, "What do you mean, is that what?" He goes, "I thought you had more in your locker. Are you going to say something?" He wanted me to give a motivational speech to the players when I went out.
Oh,
and honestly, I just was like, no. It's just like my daughter. Yeah, do one, son, do one. So I think he wanted me to give the team talk or something. I just wasn't prepared because the thing is, I am a fan.
Yeah.
And I mean, no. Don't get me wrong. I know I could most definitely do a couple of proper organised sessions for the fellas around my motivational presentations and getting these guys buying into what it really takes and getting the discussion going amongst themselves. I know that I could do that, but I'd have to know that I was doing that and be prepared and prepare myself in order to do that. But in that scenario, for example, I am a fan. I am a fan. I remember that at half time seeing Teddy Sheringham come through and the Ginge Collins. There's two guys who came from Cardiff, Ginge Collins and
Gabidon.
Oh, boom! Correct.
Yeah.
Gabidon. And I remember Gabidon coming in and at half time and oh mate, I tell you what, this guy. I mean, there's a look when you're a sportsman. There's a look when your body is distressed, when your body's been under so much stress and it's trying to recover. There's a look in your eyes. I mean, the nostrils really open up and flare, pupils dilated, and the veins on your face are all raised because of all the energy and blood. And I looked at Gabidon, and he was on fire, and you could see that boy had sweating blood and tears on that half. And it was just amazing to be in the presence. And I was a fan. I saw Tony Sheringham go past. I saw Gabidon go past. Gabidon looked like a gladiator. Yeah. I absolutely loved it. And there was no way, I couldn't have said a word seeing those boys. I was just like in awe.
In awe, yeah.
I was a fan.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing story there.
Well, I think we should get a petition together and get you to go and speak to the squad. Be our motivational speaker.
No problem.
A weekly show for us on Irons United. Weekly show.
He's signing you up, Kriss. He's signing you up. Listen, we've not got a huge amount of questions left, but we'll get cracking on. Probably a double-barrel question. Thoughts on the board and how do you rate Pellegrini?
I tell you what, you've got to give the board their due. So they're money men, clearly, and the reason we didn't develop bowling and we've gone to a new length stadium because it makes financial sense to them. When you're renting the property for 2.5 bag loads, which is less than the player, and you haven't got to upkeep the infrastructure that you had over there, and you get 120 bag loads in your skyrocket from the builders, it makes financial sense, right? So they're businessmen. I was concerned initially that there were businessmen who were in their 60s and 70s who were still more interested in lining their pockets than they were for the club, which I would never understand. I would never understand why, if you're in your 60s and 70s and you've lived, 3/4 of your life, 40 or 8% of your life, why you'd still be worried about earning money rather than leaving a legacy. And I thought that was going on, but what I've seen is that no, they have actually now they've got their money back, which I'm sure they have. Now they've got their money back. They really are building towards a phenomenal future. And I would like to think if they continue the way they've gone in the last 18 months, they've taken some brave decisions, with our managers, getting rid of Sam Allardyce, who did a job. And, they got him and they did the right job at the right time, a belt on places manager. Then they got in Moyes to steady the ship. When I'm a Bilic fan. I love Bilic. I did. But I know he'd lost the dressing room and started going Pete Tong. Then they got in Moyes to steady the ship. And then they got in Pellegrini. And then you can see the players that are getting in there. And I do think before these boys jog on, they will get us, I'm not going to say top 6, but being the top of the clubs knocking on the door for the top 6. Yeah. So where Wolves are probably going to be, Wolves are going to probably end up 7th. And we will be that club who regularly are out there being the best of the rest. So in that respect, I do respect them. I do think they're the right people for our club. I do think they're doing the right stuff. David Gold, obviously, is East End boy. Although he's not the mainstay. The mainstay is the other guy. Sullivan's the real main man. But I do respect these guys, and I thank them very much for taking that. And I hope that they get the privilege of what I said right at the beginning, seeing us win a cup. Yeah. We've got to win a cup. We've got to win. Pellegrini, I was out to lunch when we first had him. I didn't think he's the right fella. I thought, at City, he did all right, but he had a load of money at City. He hasn't going to have the same sort of money with us. But, I step back and say, mate, take a bow. He's created a team that's got a lot of flair, that does come out to win. We're out on the front foot, play the game the right way. I don't think he can help not having the battlers that we were talking about. Yeah. I think if he gets a couple of battlers in there, I mean, Declan Rice, great player. I mean, that kid. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he might be if we can hold on to him, I'm pessimistic. I'm West Ham. I don't think we can hold on to him. I think he's going to go the way of Joey Cole, Frankie Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, Defoe. You name it. We get great kids, and but if it's a change, and we keep hold of Declan Rice. We build on him. Diop. I can't believe we're going to keep Diop. But we keep Diop, Declan Rice, Fabianski. I can't believe we're going to keep him.
We're building that core again.
Oh, that's what you said? Yeah. If we can keep those players and build on that, all of a sudden, hats off, sir. Hats off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you, mate. Sorry, Ant, I agree with you. I think Pellegrini, I think the jury was out initially. I thought the potential was great, Pellegrini. And I still think on a few of the games he's made some odd tactical decisions, but I think the key thing is that, we always talk about the West Ham way, and I think actually Pellegrini is probably the one manager that can bring us a kind of West Ham way. Let's just call it the Pellegrini way, right? Because it is the right kind of football that we want to see played. I just don't think that we've got the players to do it right now. Also, I don't think he's got the players to do it right now, and that's why we're still struggling.
And on the back of what all of us have said there, I suppose, is, for me personally, Chris, I've said this a long time, I feel like West Ham, from the original move, we're kind of 2 or 3 years behind where we should have been, because we expected once we moved to get that investment instantly, and we didn't get the investment. We got the investment in the summer, but we need this investment for 2 or 3 more years solidly over the next windows to be able to build us, to get us to where we should have been 2 years ago, when we could have been signing these players left, right and centre. But yeah, next one over to you. Oh, sorry, Chris.
Hold on, yeah. No, when you say the West Ham play, West Ham way, one thing that we've got in Pellegrini that we've not had for a very long time, not since Greenwood and Lyle.
Yeah.
And this part of the West Ham way is discipline.
Yeah.
In as much as, if you don't perform during the week, no matter who you are, you don't play at the weekend.
Yeah.
Now, I think, certainly with Bilic, but even Sam Allardyce had his favourites. This guy played well for us, but you knew number 4, Newcastle lad.
Oh,
Nolan. When I say he could do no wrong, no matter what he did, he played. Yeah. It doesn't matter how bad he played. Now, Pellegrini ain't going to have any of that. If you don't play well at the game, or you don't play the next weekend. Now that was the West Ham way. Greenwood and Lyle were disciplinarians, and you had to really perform for him and understand what they wanted. And I see that in Pellegrini, and that is actually a real good thing to see.
Yeah.
Because even someone like Arnautovic, who's a great player, when he went wobbly, Pellegrini didn't play him.
Well, Chris, you've brought me on to that subject. Arnautovic, Chicharito, Carroll and Perez. Talk to me about those 4 strikers in our current striker situation.
We've got a problem.
Yeah. I'm going to do a Kriss Akabusi laugh.
We've got a problem. Look, you cannot have anybody, A, who thinks they're bigger than the club, but B, who thinks that they can diss the rest of the players. You know what? The centre forward is probably the most important position on the pitch, because if you don't score goals, you don't win games. It's a tautology, right? But we talked about Dean Ashton. Dean Ashton had the right attitude. If he was on the pitch, he was there to score goals. And if he wasn't on the pitch, he understood why. A guy I've not mentioned, I've got to know this guy really, really well when I met Cotty.
Oh, yeah.
TC, right attitude. Now, these guys, Ashton, Cotty was a good player. You know, he could score goals. He knew when the back of the net was. But he had the right attitude. And so you look at it. Andy Carroll, he frustrates me. Because deep down, you can see he's a nice fella. Deep down, I can see him. I can see he's a nice fella. You could have a good old beer with him. He just frustrates me. He frustrates me because actually the reason I do, because he does put himself about, and he does want it, but he's just so ill-disciplined. And I'm not even talking about off the pitch. Because I know, he likes his partying. There's been rumours about some other stuff. I won't go there because I wouldn't want to slander the fella. But there's been rumours about some of the things he gets up to. But on the pitch, when you see Andy Carroll, now, he's a throwback and he's an old-fashioned centre forward, right? Andy, I know you think you're tasty. I know you think you've got some skill. And every now and again you do something. But, mate, the reason I'm employing you is because you're 6'6", you're 16 stone, and I want you in the 18-yard box chucking yourself about in the 18. I don't want to see you on the left wing. I don't want to see you on the right wing. I don't want to see you in midfield. I don't want to see you inside forward. I do want to see you at centre back when we're in defence. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. You do that really, really well. But I want you up there, and I want my creative midfielders running in and getting the bits and bobs. Yeah. And if you can't score, then create the opportunities for others to score. But he frustrates me. We don't get, he only plays, 7, 8, 10 games a season. Yeah. Very, very rarely scores more than 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a season. Yeah, it's just frustrating because there's a player who could be a phenomenal plan B if he just did what you wanted him to do. Yeah. But he tries to do too much. Chicharito, very disappointed in Chicharito. I really had great expectations for him. I'm not quite sure if it's us who've let him down. But, again, I see him try to score outside. Mate, you score inside, stay inside. Arnautovic, when Moyes put him up front, what a revelation that was. And I thought we had him. I really thought we had our striker. I really thought all of this, and his attitude, his swagger, you like a little bit of swagger. But then all that nonsense there about China and stuff. Oh, you lost me, Arnie, mate. Yeah. You lost me there, mate. And then when you do come back, rather than going, because hey, look, Arnie, don't get me wrong, I'm a money man. If somebody also said to me, I'm going to increase your wages by threefold, I'd be going too. But I'd go, fellas, I'd go to the fans, fellas, love you loads, but I'll look after my family and I'll be off-ski. And if it broke down, I'd go, fellas, really, really sorry. I'd put my head down and I'd work hard. I wouldn't be throwing strop, and it's just got too stroppy. Yeah. And then Perez, who are you?
Caleri Mark II, in my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, look, it just goes to show Perez didn't go on the training camp down in Spain, did he? And the reason is what you touched on before. If you're not showing it in training, you're not going to be playing. And any time he's come on, I know he's scored 3 goals this season against, lower opposition, but he just hasn't shown it. He hasn't shown it at all. When he's come on, he's not showing it in training. I think it's interesting what you say, sorry I'm butting in here, but interesting you say about Carroll and Chicharito, and I completely agree with what you're saying. I was kind of always hopeful for Chicharito, and I was always hopeful for Carroll. But I will say this, and I've said it lots of times in my videos as well. When you got Carroll on the pitch, you've got to expect him to play in a certain way, but you've also got to play to what he's capable of. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, so we do not play according to what we've got up front. So Chicharito, for example, all last season and this season, whenever he's played, we just haven't serviced him. We haven't put proper balls into the box, into that 6-yard penalty area, in the 6-yard box, where he can poach. Carroll, exactly the same. We're not putting in high balls where he can actually go and attack with his head. Yeah. So if that's the case, if we're not playing, a style of football that suits them, my opinion is they should not even be on the pitch. Yeah. That's the thing. However, if they are on the pitch, then we cannot blame them for failing if we don't play. That gets the best out of them.
Right. So they should be our plan B. Carroll and Chirico are the two people you chuck on with 20 minutes ago, one goal down. Yeah. And then you know what you're doing. Antonio on the right, it doesn't matter who's on the left, Masuaku, whoever it is, flop those balls in, bang, crash wallet, and get the poacher's goal.
But we don't do that. But we don't do that. We don't even do that as a plan B, let alone a plan A. We just don't even do it full stop.
Do we think then what's related to that is the lack of creativity, and how important, Chris, good question to you, is the return of Lanzini, Nasri and Balbuena in preparation for the game this Friday?
Probably too late for the preparation of this game this Friday. Great for the back end of the season. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing Lanzini, but Lanzini is going to take a month or 6 weeks to get match fit. Doesn't matter how fit he is, he's going to get match fit. It's great that Lanzini. We miss Jack Wilshere in as much as as a credit player. I mean, Jack Wilshere is a fall unto himself because he dives in. He does stuff that he's not supposed to do. I want you on the ball being flash and creating opportunities. I don't want you winning 50-50 tackles. Yeah. That's noble. That's Declan Rice. Yeah. So yes, it'd be great to see Lanzini again. Maybe in April, May, and let's get our money's worth because he is our cracking little creative little player. So I'd like to see that, but it's going to be too late for it's Huddersfield. No, not Huddersfield. We play this weekend.
Fulham
on Friday. Yeah, so Fulham. You'd be too early for Fulham. Might get there for Huddersfield. I mean, you can't play Sam Nasri and Lanzini at the same time, can you? Because they're too much of the same player. So it's going to be either or with them. Again, Anderson's another one that flummoxed me because he has done some great stuff for us, and you could see at the beginning when he turned up, he wasn't used to the hurly-burly of the Premier League. You see he plays in Italy and all those places where you can get time on the ball, but he's really turned up for us. And then again, he goes misses. But then again, maybe I'm asking too much. He's a flair player, so I've got to give him a squeeze. But yeah, we've got Balbuena and Diop. I mean, what a lovely partnership those guys had. If those guys come back together again and we tighten up again, all of a sudden we haven't got to score 3 or 4 goals. We can win by 1 or 2. Yeah. That'd be lovely.
Yeah. Interesting you say about Anderson. When we played, remind me, Crystal Palace last game. This epitomises Anderson. First half, we were playing pretty well, holding our own, taking the game to Crystal Palace, and guess what? Anderson had a crack of a first half. Second half, he went to sleep. We just sat back, and that's it. They bossed us in the second half, and that's pretty much Anderson. When he's on fire, we do well, but then he'll suddenly disappear for a game or for a half, and then we suffer. It's his consistency.
You're right, and the thing is, you see, at this level, you can't afford to have 2 or 3 players go to sleep. Exactly. Because then it doesn't matter what the other 7 or 8 players are doing. Yeah. If 2 or 3 of you go to sleep, that is it. It's all over. And it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, Arsenal, did you go to the Arsenal game? So the Arsenal game, when it came to us at Upton Park, they had 5 players going to sleep. They only had, Iwobi was the only one who played for them. Yeah. And at this level, if you have 2 or 3 players go to sleep, it's all over. Yeah. And so if Anderson switches off, you can pick a couple others, then it's all over. Yeah. You've got to be all over it all at the same time. And that's why I think we lose against Brighton, Watford and the like, because they don't go to sleep.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think we've got anything to play for now? Do you think our season's over now? Okay, look, we're out of the FA Cup. We're obviously out of the League Cup. But we got anything to play for?
Pride.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else to play for, is there? It's pride. I guess the players have got the bonuses to play for. I guess they're going to get some position bonuses. But really, no. I mean, as I said, we're not going to be top 6. We're probably not even going to be 8th. I could probably see us 10th, 12th. We ain't going down. For me, I wanted a cup run. I'd love the idea of going to Wembley in the semi-final, even if we got knocked out. And the worst thing in the world is to get knocked out in the semi-final. I'd rather lose the final. 2006 was great, but to get knocked out in the semi-final is awful. Yeah. But I'd rather have gone and got knocked out in the semi-final and had something to talk about. Because, as I said, okay, we lost against Liverpool. But you know what? I do dine out on that one. I do, because I was there. Me and my mate who says, we were there, and it was so close, and we can talk about it. And yeah, it wasn't the right result, but we were there. Yeah, we're not.
Look, as fans, right? We talk about FA Cup runs and FA Cup. We don't talk about going to Sicily and losing 3-1 against Palermo in a failed European campaign, do we? What's the famous?
But what we do talk about though is winning the Intertoto Cup, though. We can't. But that was a good. Do you know what? My memory of that was a good time. It was a good,
Well, and I tell you what though, it was. But what I remember, we hit the ground running as well. When we started that season, August, September, we were flying.
We had Di Canio, One Chop, Trevor Sinclair. I mean, yeah.
Oh, One Chop, I used to love
Paolo One Chop. I used to love him. Big dangly legs.
Yeah, nobody knew what he was doing.
No,
he didn't know what he was doing. I know. He was just doing.
But he would come up. He would come up with some unbelievable goals every now and then. Proper world class goals. Great player, Paolo One Chop. Wow, what?
I'd love it.
Right, we're down to the last question then, Chris. Transfer window's coming up. How important is this transfer window? How much do we need to spend, and who would you like to see us bring in?
Well, okay, I'm not a money man. Well, I'm a money man personally, so I don't know how much we need to spend, but I know we do need to spend. I've got it controversial because he's been a great servant. Probably Nobes might have seen his last proper season as a starter. He could. He'll have a role to play, but I see him very much coming in again. Well, for example, I see Nobes playing against Brighton, Watford, Bournemouth. We need scrapper. I don't see him playing at the big league. So we need another proper defensive midfielder alongside Declan Rice. We need a right. I mean, I don't think we give Fredericks a chance, but we do need a couple of bona fide fullbacks, right back and left back. We need a pucker centre forward. Yeah. And I'm going back to Dino Ashton. We need somebody who you give 3 chances, he's going to score 1. Because then you're guaranteed of getting 1 or 2 goals a game because you're going to feed them 6 times. Yeah. You just got to have that level of striker. Yeah. I mean, Teddy Sheringham was probably the last one, and he was on his last legs. But he got
still done a job, didn't he?
no, through guile. Yeah. But he's going to score.
Yeah.
So we do need a quality striker, assuming that we do keep Arnautovic, he keeps on side, and that's a big assumption, by the way.
This is like a side question. Do you think we'll still have Chicharito, Arnautovic, Carroll, and Perez come the end of the summer, come next season?
3 of those, no. 1, yeah. I think Arnautovic will be sorted out, and he'll stay. Yeah, I think it's just a money problem with him. He'll get a few bob. Look, where's he gonna go? I mean, he is good. There's no doubt about it. But I think what he's shown a real massive flaw. He showed it at Stoke, and he's shown it at us. Yeah. He's shown to any club that in the middle of the season he can have his head turned.
Yeah.
In the middle of the season. So if you're Man United and you buy Arnautovic.
Yeah.
City coming and want to disturb you. Yeah. They just tickle him with a fiver and you lose him. Now, if you're a top 6 club, you cannot afford to know that your player can be got at. That all of a sudden, because he's gone off the. He's not played for us since then.
Yeah.
So I think actually he's done us a favour. No one's going to touch him with a barge pole. Now he can go to China, but they tickled him, and there's no. They went like that, didn't they? They went like that to him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's staying. The others are going. The others, I think, are going, and so I think we'll have a Nartovic. We need another proper striker, so Nartovic is not number one.
Yeah,
and then a couple of backups, and I don't, and I don't know who. Yeah. You know, I mean, I liked Batshuayi, but he chose Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I like him, and I thought he might do something for us. I don't know who's coming up through the back. I mean, there's a guy. Do you know that guy Quinner?
Yeah, Domingos Quinner. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Watford love him. I've got a couple of Watford fans that go there, mate.
Yeah.
They
doing all right for them as well, didn't they?
There's a couple of those players though we seem to let go though. It seemed to progress on and do all right after they leave us, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they look at me and think, you've got that problem. You've got a score problem. Why'd you let him go? They love him. They love him over there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think I've answered my thing. So another striker, somebody to replace Nobes as a starter in the team. I'm not saying get rid of Nobes. So Nobes will probably lose. I'm really sorry. I'm all over the place. So we've got Declan Rice. We've got Nobes. And who's the other midfielder?
Obiang.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So we'll probably lose Obiang.
Well, he can go.
No, take Obiang's place as that number 3 that steps in. Yeah. And we need a starter with young Declan Rice. And then I tell you what, we and that'd be a lot of money, mate. That'd be a lot of money. That's 200 million quid easily gone there. Yeah. You know. But we've got to have a striker. We've got to have a £60 million striker.
Yeah.
We've got to have somebody that knows where the net is.
100%.
I mean, someone said Lukaku, he ain't coming to us. But, you know, Lukaku will be great for us.
Yeah, do you know what, Chris? I completely agree with you. I know he's getting slagged off left, right and centre at Manchester United, but I tell you what, his goal scoring stats are fantastic. And he's done it at West Brom, he's done it at Everton. He's done it at the level we're looking for, so bring him on if he can come. If we can somehow pull that off, then but I don't know if we can. So,
I think if we get strikers, 1 or 2 strikers who can find the back, you know where their target is, but also sort out our service to them, better crosses, better quality crosses, and get the ball in early to them, because this is where we're failing right now. That final third, the quality in the final third. I think we'll have a cracking season next season.
Well, he said, but Lanzini's not been here for us. Yeah. He got cropped at the World Cup. I mean, because Lanzini is on fire.
Yeah.
He's on fire. But Lanzini, did he go to the game against Huddersfield?
Yeah. Not the 4-1. Yeah.
Dominated, yeah.
I mean, Lanzini was just a different quality.
Yeah.
You know, Lanzini.
But he had a bit of a topsy-turvy season last season, because he got sent off and then he missed he's suspended for about 3 or 4 games. And he came back like the game before, I think, Huddersfield. And it was kind of just bedding in. He had a fantastic game against Huddersfield. And then I can't remember, did he get injured soon after then or whatever? And then he came back. So he had a bit of a topsy-turvy season. And then obviously he got injured in the international against Argentina. So that, that screwed him up as well. And screwed up really.
Yeah, but you see, I don't think someone like Lanzini can play in the Premier League week in, week out. He's not a David Silva. So if someone like Lanzini, Wiltshire, you just mentioned him, Nasri. So basically, Pellegrini has got to be savvy with Lanzini, Nasri, and Wiltshire, and getting them taking, easing each other, so that you get 10-day rest. Yeah. You're not getting beaten up because and allow these guys. I mean, I don't get. See, this is what I don't get about football, because in athletics you have to peak to perform. You can't be 100% all the time.
Yeah.
So you should be having these players peak at different times, so that one of you is in a training ground doing your shuttle runs, doing your circuit training, doing your base stuff, and you ain't playing for 2 weeks. We're taking you out, we're doing our physio, we're doing our strength work, and then we're going to give you a couple of B games if they do such things anymore. And okay, this is your month, and we're going to get you out 3 or 4 games, and we want you to peak at that level for those few. Athletics, that's what you do.
Yeah.
You have 3 peaks in a season. But our players, we expect them to be like, because like Antonio, have you noticed Antonio? The last sort of like month or so, Antonio has been on fire.
Yeah.
He's been working hard. He's been a battering ram. He's been running. But do you remember, we killed him. We absolutely rushed him. He was like dog tired, hammy gone, shoulder gone. And then we were complaining. We were wondering why he was bushwhacked after an hour, because he's caned.
Yeah.
You can't have a player at that level, especially someone like Antonio, who's a battering around and runs for a living. And so if we can get that right, and we can pick these players at the right time, and so Antonio needs to be swapped with somebody, Lanzini, and then we'll be all right, because we've got a great basis. Anderson, great basis. We need to be doubling these guys up and peaking them at the same time, so that it's like a concertina like that. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but you know what I mean?
we can.
So, if you can't see my hands, I can't talk.
Listen, Kriss, honestly.
There you go, fella. There you go.
Kriss, we can't thank you enough.
Quality graphics, that is.
Yeah. That's been well over an hour. We've taken up a lot of your time, Kriss. It's been absolutely amazing having you on. For any of you fans that are watching, please make sure you subscribe to our channel. Get your comments in below. Let us know if you agree, disagree with any of our points that we have mentioned. And hopefully in the future, Kriss, we'd like to have you back on, and hopefully we'd love to bring you down as our special guest as opposed to the Supporters Club, because I think you'd actually really enjoy the day out there. So we'll get in touch with you and let you know what's happening with there. And we get your comments in below. Al, thanks for joining me again, interviewing the legend that is Kriss Akabusi. Kriss, last question. Last question, Kriss. Do you know who Joey Essex is?
I do sports and TV and news, mate.
Good man. Come on, you irons.
Look, who's